Welcome everyone to the Great Canadian Aftermarket Trade Show live conference session featuring uh, Norm Rose from Excel Sales Consulting. Maximizing your team's potential has got to be top of mind for everybody these days, whether you're working remotely, whether you're working in an office, possibly soon, or working in a shop where you kind of at arm's length from the entire team. Making sure everybody is pulling together at in the same direction is critically important to the success of the business, the well-being, and frankly happiness of your workforce. Welcome, Norm.
Thank you very much for having me here today. I'm humbled to be
No,
here. I appreciate the opportunity. It's fantastic.
no, it's great. Now, just a little bit of housekeeping before I get into it. This is on the Zoom platform, so everybody can ask questions or make comments through the chat, through a Q&A. You can raise your hand if you want to speak with your own with your own voice and ask a question and maybe a follow-up. And I'll manage that. Now, Norm's been part of the automotive aftermarket for a long time. He's been doing training at all levels of the aftermarket for quite a number of years as well. But I'll leave it up to Norm. Tell everybody a little bit about your background and what Excel Sales is really focused on.
Sure. How much time do you have? No, anyway, I just thought I'd put that little comment in there for those that know me. But it is hard to believe. I never thought I would actually, it's incredible how time goes so quickly. I never thought I would be that guy to say 30 plus years, Andrew, and for all the other folks that are on here as well. Thank you for being here very much. Appreciate you attending with us today. It does kind of go back just to very much to humble beginnings. Just kind of like lower to middle income family. My dad worked on cars all of our lives as kids as well. And so I was around vehicles all of my life, and then majored in welding and figured out that's definitely not going to be for me. Then my parents even said at the time as a kid, they said, "You're the last guy that should be a welder." And I wasn't very good at it. And I think I got canned about 6 months into it. Decided to go back and do a little bit of schooling. And in my early 20s, was very grateful enough to be able to have the opportunity to move out to Calgary. And I live in Calgary now, and covered Southern Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, and covered a lot of ground as working for a manufacturer, and moved into a sales manager's role, and also was proud to work with a manufacturer's agent for a lot of years, which really helped build so much experience over all of the years as well, just working with all levels of distribution from the shops to the managers of jobbers and warehouse distributors and manufacturers. So I see that that's a big part of our audience today as well. So I welcome you to be here. That's a little bit about the background of in the industry. Hard to believe now, 20th anniversary is coming up, Andrew. September, it'll be 20 years in this business as a trainer. One thing I've always wanted to continue to do, and I hope you hear this in my voice today and in my message, is to give you a humble message to say, these are some things and some opportunities for you, but never to think that I'm talking at you, just talking with you and the challenges that you face. So very proud to say 20 years now, developed a lot of training programs that you'll see a little bit of information on it today for sales, customer service, and leadership, and so on. So it's taken a lot of years to build all of it, but proud and happy to be here. And it's been an interesting year, the last year, to say the least, for everyone. So
To say the least, yeah,
that's a little bit of the background.
for sure. And I think for a lot of us who've been kind of in business or around business for in our professional lives, have come up across a lot of training programs, sometimes silver bullet kind of suggestions. I'll leave it to Norm to talk about what he believes works and how they've structured their training and some of the highlights of what it takes to get the most out of your team. But it is definitely something it's a process, right? That needs a constant or at least continual attention. So, with that, because I know that people's time is valuable, I'm going to just sort of sit back a little bit here and let Norm kind of get on with his presentation. And before we get into it, I will say that Norm has very generously offered to allow anybody who's participating today or who watches this at a later date through the video recorded video, the opportunity to send him a note and discuss having a free session, a free training session or module at your disposal, whatever that will be. He's left it very open for you so you can see what it is, sort of a try before you buy kind of thing. Although certainly this is very generic, and the tools some of the tools you'll see today will be able to be put into use, right away, I think. So the contact information to reach out to Norm at the end of this presentation is on the last slide, and we'll remind you of that when we get there too. So thank you very much for everybody who's joining us right now. I'm Andrew Ross, but I'm going to step back right now and leave it to Norm. Norm, take it away.
Well, thank you very much for that, Andrew. I really appreciate it. And we are talking about maximizing your team's potential. It's been, like I say, an interesting 12 plus 15 months now, and we're certainly not going to get in a lot onto the pandemic and so on, and talking about that today. But one of the things that it has done for us is it's allowed us all to continue to grow and learn and face challenges like we've never had before. So I would just encourage, first of all, before we even jump in, any of your team members, the companies that you work with, if it's in the jobber business, in the shop business, is that continue to thank all the people around you for the resilience and the mindsets of people to be able to fight through it. Because when all this first started happening, everyone started to say, "Oh, we'll get through all this together. We'll get through all this together." And I'm sure you remember hearing that a lot, Andrew. Isn't that the case as well? And now it's no time like the present is just to continue to thank people and the people that you work with. It's not individuals that run any successful organization. It's a whole massive team of people collaboratively that work together. And so what we want to talk about today are some of the things related to the store manager side of it. So if you're a sales manager on here and you're looking at it and going, well, Norm's talking about store managers and there's a little bit on his online training program that he has and some of those things, I want to thread so that you do know what we have. But this isn't a huge sales pitch on you. It's just a matter of you understanding what we have available. And then for you to look at this and go, here's where I can enhance my skills as a manager. So I want to do a little bit of both and show you some of the things related to leadership, because now great customer service, great teamwork really starts with leadership. Although that's always the case, they say, and it starts from the top down, I'm also a firm believer that it does start with every individual, because every individual within an organization can certainly lead by example. We'll also talk about the importance of counter people and the continuous change of expectations from counter people. I mean, there's so much going on that's required of them with technology changes and product changes and customer relationship changes that continue with new customers, as well as making sure that we're looking after our best customers. I've had a saying, and maybe you've heard of this before, lots of people that may know me that are on the podcast today, but your best customers are your competitors' best prospects. All your best customers, which is usually the 80-20 rule, the old Pareto principle, 80% of your business comes from 20% of your accounts. So it's important to maintain and continue to nurture and develop that relationship that you have with your customers. We'll talk a little bit about sales training as well as touch on, just a little bit of the measurement tools, because one of the things that we've learned over the years is that it's okay to do training as well, but what's the follow-up? What is the accountabilities of us as accountabilities for yourself as organization as well? And we continue to build on that for years to making sure that you continually are getting the most out of your training. If there are questions as well, or chats, or any communications that you have on any questions, like Andrew said, feel free to make sure that we get involved in that. Anything else, Andrew, just on the intro here?
No, I think that's good. Just get right on it. And one of the things that I love your comment, so I'm going to just reiterate it, that great customer service starts with great leadership, but also that every team member can lead by example. This is a really foundational element of how you can see your team instead of having to carry the load if you're the leader in a position within the organization, having to feel like you're having to tell everybody everything, or conversely, if you're one of the team members, that somehow you might feel that you really can't have the impact and nothing could be farther from the truth, right? It's a
Mhm.
the product of a collective effort is really what provides that success and full potential for an organization. So
For sure, absolutely. Whether it's the shipper, the receiver, the driver, whether it's the shop, that has the owners on, and he has his person that's just responsible for oil changes. No matter what it is, I've been saying it for so long. We can all lead by example, and we know that competition is fiercer than ever. We also know that that the bottom line is that really there's a lot of great products that are made out there, and a lot of similar products, and the manufacturers are doing such a great job at really distinguishing and differentiating themselves with the value that they bring. We do know that it is a price sensitive industry in a lot of ways as well, and that it's about price. So one of the things that we can do is continue to bring that value to our best customers, and to be aware of it. So it's a matter of making sure that we continue to treat them like gold. And again, it's not an individual thing, it's a collaborative thing to help produce the competitive threats. You hear some people say kind of odd off comments to certain customers that they may have known for a long time, or poor humor, or examples of, as a salesperson, when they get them for like on the field for years. I'm not talking disparaging about anybody here. It's just reality is that over time people get very, very comfortable with customers. They build relationships. Heck, you go fishing with them sometimes, and we've all been there and done that. But it's a matter of continuing to make sure that we're collaboratively saying, let's treat these people like gold. Let's treat them like with the utmost respect. Let's not take advantage of their time if we're in shops or if we're on the phone with them. Let's make sure that we treat Frank, who's a great guy, looks after us, buys a lot from us, takes care of it. Let's look after him and treat him like gold. Because again, other people want that business. We don't want to take them for granted. And so it's really important to continue that strong pulse and that connection with the decision makers within the organization as well, of the companies that you're selling to. I heard for years, lots of people, this isn't a canned presentation. This is just from the heart saying, I've heard people say, you know what, Norm? Man, I just lost 10,000 a month on a shop. I just lost 25,000 a month on an account that I have in the automotive or in the paint side of it, or industrial, or whatever, part of the segments, maybe your agricultural jobber, whatever it might be. You can lose business, but it's important to talk to your teams in your sales meetings, in your operations meetings, about what the true cost is of really losing business. It's not so much about future sales, right, of 25,000 a month potentially. It could be what it really is how much did it cost me to get that business? How much energy did I have to dispense? And this is something that you can really write down maybe and think of it as not just ROI, return on investment, we've all heard it, but what is your ROE, your return on energy? How much time, effort, work did you put into that 80-20 rule of your 80% of your business coming from 20% of your accounts? So not only if you lose one, and we're because of things that, it could be little things. And some people say, oh, Norm, your stuff's basic, or it's a little easy. Well, yeah, it is basic stuff that makes us lose customers sometimes, right? And if I seem passionate about it, it's because let's nip it in the bud before it happens. Once somebody says, well, you know what, I'm just really not quite getting the feel that I was from your company before, maybe, the respect or the delivery or the fill rates or whatever it might be, let's fix it now. Let's talk about this. Let's develop our relationships, because then when it's too late sometimes to say, oh, we can get that now or fix it for you, it's too late. And then, the competitor's been walking through the front door and maybe we're going in the back, so to speak. So and I'm not ranting or anything. I'm just sharing with you and hoping you're thinking about it. Yeah, maybe I got to get in touch with that owner more, because I'm not seeing the people that I should be. Maybe the competition could be in there. Any questions at all, chats that you want to cover there, Andrew, at all?
just, yeah, I've been sending out a couple of notes to people, just asking if they, what are their bugaboos a little bit, and haven't got any responses yet. But it occurs to me that, when we're building teams, some of these training ideas and some of the training can really kind of fall by the wayside in the heat of the moment, and the role of the rush of the day, and as we carry on, and you mentioned, you get really comfortable with some customers. How do we? Are there ways or touch points to keep? Just to keep kind of between the guardrails, of what our training, what our systems, what our kind of team direction is supposed to be.
Well, absolutely, and this is kind of leading right to this point, and I appreciate you saying, because I was segueing even a couple slides ahead where we're losing some customers. Maybe we'll talk about it and some things that we can do to save that. But as far as online training goes as well, or any training, or we're doing virtual training as well, and we're just to tell you is that it's become incredibly beneficial for a lot of people. To do online training, Andrew, to answer your question, to remind them of the things that they may know, but they may not be doing. They may learn things. They may set new goals. The big thing is creating internal consistencies as well. Whether you're a shop, manufacturer, whether you're a jobber, whatever it might be, is really getting on the same page. And then training really does help leverage that consistencies. Otherwise, we're just kind of dabbling in things, and there's measurability built in. One of the things that has been learned a lot is that with this COVID is that a positive, if there's anything to speak, is that people have had to grind and grind. I'll tell you something personal, my friends. I'll tell you, I was walking and pacing for almost 3 weeks, a month after March 15th. I was in Los Angeles, Toronto, and Vancouver 2 weeks before COVID in the middle of March, traveling all over, doing conferences, working, and all hot spots. And I came back and I went, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? So my only point of it is, it's making people think that, some people go, oh, well, I'm all zoomed out and all of this, but it's actually the truth of it is, it's making people say, there's a lot of value in this. I can get back to my day, spend an hour, great stuff you're putting out, Andrew, and doing everything that you're doing, and you're seeing a big participation of people growing into this platform, right? Of doing online training, doing virtual sessions like this as well. Yeah.
Sure. Now, looking here, I mean, it gets to kind of the point that we had touched on earlier. And it is. I'll use the unadvisedly term, inadvised term of the problem with training. And we've all seen training. We've been to training. We've gone to sessions, and then we leave. And I can't remember what the cliche amount was, but sort of, a big proportion of it leaves your brain as you leave the room, and so how do you ensure that that's not the case? And what I see here, which is kind of where we're going with this, is that it's a process, not a class, right?
Right. Yes, absolutely. It really is. And what we've done is tried to really build, if you're looking operationally out in the automotive aftermarket, and I'm going to brag for a minute. It's taken a lot of years. I think it's very unique what we have. It needs to be a culture, not to try to throw everything all at once, but the counter training, the driver training, the sales training, leadership training. Like, even if you just talk about those things, is you can't do it all at once. But to your point, Andrew, to answer your question specifically, is that, let's say this is counter training modular driver. You dig right into that and you make sure that you complete it and you finish it. We don't want to just sell training to people that aren't going to use it or that aren't going to follow through. And we have processes in place that we would talk one-on-one with people more and say, okay, over a period of time, you're going to complete it. Let's set the accountabilities. Let's make sure that we get our reports out to you on completion of training. Let's have follow-ups. And let's, rather than get into all these steps and reading off these graphics, bottom line is that you need to have things that are relevant and real world that people can relate to. And coming from the automotive aftermarket, and without sounding gloating or bragging, it is real world stuff that we talk about. We see it every day. And so that's what makes it stick. So lots of people over the years say, oh my goodness, Norm, what you talked about last week, I just saw it today. We're going to make some changes. We're going to take some changes in behavior. I use kind of, just saying this, the green box scenario. Let me just ask you, Andrew, because we're just chatting for everyone here for a moment. If I put a big green box in your office and you kept walking and it didn't belong there, what would happen with that green box over a week, 2 weeks, a month? It's huge. Somebody might walk in and say, what's that green box? But what'll happen with you? You may what? You may not even see it anymore.
Right. Yeah. We have one of our attendees, I asked a couple of questions about some of the problems and, what are the biggest challenges in maintaining effectiveness with a relationship with a shop, and Denny Champagne mentioned that the biggest issue is so many moving parts that seem to fail, from purchasing end to sale to the client. So that left hand, right hand, we've often kind of talked about how, everybody does a great job, but if the delivery driver doesn't remember, or it doesn't end up on the table to get loaded up and delivered to, well, you know,
Right.
not all that effort is for nothing. And the same thing back way up with things like, one of the longstanding, kind of issues for a lot of shops is things like credits and whatnot, and those things don't happen the customer feels they should happen. And people aren't firing, or organizations aren't firing on all cylinders at the same time. Or
Mhm.
what do we do to ensure that this process fits into kind of that
For
reality?
sure, for sure. Yeah, it's a great question. And this one isn't just me directing just what I do. This is to answer that question in a specific way, to really look at, and it's a great, great question. And you said it was Denny Champagne, is that correct? Someone? Yes, thank you.
Yep.
That I believe you said, right, was the name?
Denny Champagne. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Denny. So what I would recommend, that take a little piece of paper and draw a circle in the middle and put customer. So get rid of this for a second and put customer, and then around it, write down all of the, so if it's not, if it's a manufacturer, if you're a jobber, or if you're a warehouse, write down all the key components that make your operation run, and put that somewhere even in your organization. So you could have your driver, your counter, your accounting, you could have ownership. And don't put ownership at the top, because we all work for the customer, and put it all around there. And then you could look at, okay, Norm, let's talk about this, because where my biggest gaps are right now is, I want to work on maybe customer service. So I'd like to work on more relationship consultative selling. I'm working with a customer right now in the US that really is asking me to help with, relationship selling, rather than just kind of the order taking and going out, and so on. So you'd need to look at it all, and I'll slow this down for two parts. One, share with everyone that it's a big picture of everyone in that circle that really works for the customer. They're the ones that pay for our mortgages, our rent, our cars, everything. The customer does that. And without you, Mr. Driver, or without you, Mr. Shipping and Receiving, who think that your role is just kind of a smaller role, without you, there is, like you just said, Andrew, there is no delivery, there is no invoice, there is no car that's repaired. And that's one aspect of it. And the second part of it is a note to take, is where do you feel, looking from the outside in, the green box is? You may be walking by it, with all due respect, and not see it anymore. You may not see the behaviors that you go, you know what? We need to work on that. We need to improve on that. And that's where we can come in to assist and be your partner to assist in that. So let's move forward here for you as well, if we could. And does that answer that, Andrew? Pretty
I
good.
think it does, and but I want to just kind of stick with this just for a second here, because Bob Jaworski of Auto Electric Service has suggested that one of the things they struggle with, or and with all businesses, I think it's true, is that their horizon for operations gets very close, and he says in his comment, just that we all fall into the trap of business. We get caught up in the now instead of the long-term benefit or outlook. Uh, and so where does what we're talking about here from your end fit into shifting that outlook, where we can, and how can we shift it for, is it just something for leaders, for the leadership, or is it something that even, well, we mentioned the drivers, even the driver, like, is it long-term relationship building there too?
Well, Bob's been a great supporter of us and working with us, and thanks to Bob for everything that he's done over the years. He's had that visionary approach as well, and runs a great business as well. And there's two parts to that. There's been lots of surveys out, and this is no slight on any uh, one manufacturer to another. It's just proven. I don't have the quote in front of me, but Toyota has actually outperformed in profitability over General Motors as far as production of vehicles. And one of the number one reasons that has been is, I'm not comparing the vehicles if you're biased to one or the other. It's not that. It's the reality of it is, the proven statement quote is that they can perform at a much higher, greater volume of capacity to produce and manufacture vehicles over other manufacturers, because they listen They listen to their people, they listen to their coworkers, they listen to everyone on the floor, and they say, tell us your ideas, tell us your ideas. So to create that vision, rather than pushing it, dropping it down, just as a salesperson that might be on the call, the days of going out and just pitching and selling and beating your customer up, trying to say buy, buy, buy is far gone now. It's like the listen to what your customers want, right? And listen to what your coworkers want, and what they believe to be a good idea. So it could be in the shipping and manufacture or distribution, and they come up with these great ideas, and then all of a sudden it accelerates your success. Because I know what Bob's saying. It's hard sometimes to create that long-term vision of getting everybody on board, but the more collaborative that you can make it, the better that it will be. There's some points that are on here from a manager's standpoint as well, is that you can't forget about positivity. And for those of you that know me, we have a choice every day on that. And just, what people expect, coworkers, your friends, your neighbors, your relationships with your suppliers, your customers. It starts with a positive mindset. And you said it earlier, leading by example is crucial. It's a critical component. So are we going in and saying thank you to our coworkers? Are we doing it genuinely and authentically and sincere with people? Are we really actually taking it to the point where helping people when they are struggling or they are having challenges, or maybe they during this pandemic are stressed out, and pulling them aside and having a good conversation, or rather than just saying, oh, what's up with them? You never know what's going on at home as well. I'll keep moving on this. There's just a couple of key points. The other part, if you go down and you look at team goal setting, it ties into what you were talking about, Andrew, and collaboration on whether that gaps for counter or driver or sales training, get more business. What we do is we help companies and organizations to do these things and improve and enhance. But what my point of it is that we have to become better at coaches as well. And that doesn't necessarily mean the top leader. So for example, like Bob, and he has great managers, his managers will coach people. They see behaviors, being late, or, being catty on the phone, or maybe not taking care of something. And I'm not suggesting Bob's got that, but I mean, he's saying that Bob's going to call me, what? No, but it's a reality of coaching. We can't let continued behavior affect others around us, right? It's like a ripple effect. You drop a rock in water, it's going to ripple out. We got to stop letting the negativity brew in organizations, and coach people and talk to them. And we do a lot of teaching on that, and on our online and our live training encounter, that, how do you have those discussions? Because they can certainly have an impact on others. And keeping your team motivated by really discussing the positive culture that needs to be developed and built.
Sure. Now, I mean, part of this, I know we're talking about training, but I know you talk about some, understanding why things are done the way they are, and why kind of certain cultures kind of ways of doing things. Cultures is a kind of overused term, but the ways of doing things at certain organizations or certain kind of categories of staff within an organization, whether it's salespeople, or managers. And one of the questions I always comes to mind when somebody says, hey, my people aren't doing what I want to do, I'm like, well, how are you compensating them on? If you want them to take a long-term goal, but you're spiffing them on daily sales amounts, well, I mean, that's an extreme example, right? But it's like this, then you're going to get the behavior that you are supporting, right?
Well, it is true. And, we got the driver program that's coming up, and, drivers, let's just say it like it is. I don't know, I could get a raise of hands if I could see everybody and, just physically raising, they did. How many people find that, the drivers say, well, I'm just a driver, but they're such a critical role, right? And so, I mean, the example of it is, whether it's monetary or not, everyone needs a sense of feeling that they're valued, right? That they're valued. And one of the things that it's been said so many times over the years as well, to your point, Andrew, is that it's habits that are created, right? So it's habit forming on things that we do well, or the things that we don't do so well. So we listened, when I made a big investment, went out to the United States and rented a building, set it up like an auto parts and a paint store, and wrote like, I don't even know how many pages it was, and literally like huge scripts, months it took, and we all the experiences over the years to see the right and the wrong behaviors, and then we actually did the videos and set them up, so showing a counter person doing the right and the wrong behaviors, and then some quizzes in there and so on for an online course, real world. But the most powerful thing was about all of this as well is that each module, whether it be on attitude or organizational skills or asking the right questions, identifying needs, and selling and add-on selling and those types of things, the people on the right, we went out and interviewed them after I left in Oregon. I did this in Oregon, and the producer of the company went out and interviewed real world shops, collision centers, as well as automotive service providers, and asked, what do you look for in your counterperson? And the training, the lady called me back, Michelle, and she said, Norm, I can't believe all the questions that they answered really aligned with your presentations of the videos that you did and the actors of what they did. And I said, well, that was really what the intent was. But I think that people seeing video, it's something that's really powerful for people to see. It's just not a textbook hokey thing, where I don't mean to say that in a negative way, where somebody's got it's a task that somebody just hates to do as training and online. We wanted to make it fun and some levity in there for counter people, but it's about changing habits, right? And back to that point, the way that we answer the phone, the way that we deal with customers, the way that we greet customers. Oh, I don't do that. I always acknowledge people quickly. Well, I'm being straight here. Do we always acknowledge people friendly, mask or no mask? And, go out to the mall and see they may have been trained at Nordstrom's, or no offense to Nordstrom's, they're awesome or whatever, or the Bay. But how many times maybe the fundamentals aren't being followed? So it's a matter of changing the behaviors of those habits without going on much
Changing them
more on the counter.
and then reinforcing the correct behavior and over again, right? It's not a kind of a one and done. Oh, that's what I'm supposed to do, and then everybody just does it, right? It doesn't really work that way certainly not for somebody like me anyway. I know if it were that case, I certainly would have a much better golf score than I have if I could just watch a video one time, right?
Oh no, it's practice, and I just scratch my head and not my hair, but I scratch my head a lot and go, it's so basic, and some days maybe it's a little bit of hair, but not much for those that know me. But I scratch my head saying it's so basic and fundamental sometimes, but you're right, it's repeated behavior to create that exceptional customer experience. And it's those simple little things, the thank you, the hellos, the patience when things go wrong, the writing down a to-do list, and reinforce, like you said, Andrew. One of the things that we've done and really proud of, developed over time now, is we part of that measurement tool is to do mystery call. So we have the ability of a team of people that would call and set up real world scenarios, calling on shops, calling on jobbers to measure the results of the training. So has the phone skills changed? Have the behaviors changed over time? And lots of people do that with us on a quarterly basis over years and over time to see the behaviors, because you brought that up a couple of times. So without that, you can't really measure it sometimes, but we have follow-up, we have webinars, and we send out reports and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of it, right? I mean, otherwise we end up with just, as I said, the one and done. People go in, they remember some of it or do better than others, but then it goes away, right? So.
Well, that's correct. And the other thing is that, some big, large building block stores, like we didn't want to be like that with our online portals and our management systems, and we're able to brand and customize the modules and things like that and everything. But we wanted people to take ownership to it, in the sense that they say, well, I've got to do attitude module. This is a little breakdown of the counter course,
right.
And each one has video, quiz, self-evaluation, which is absolutely huge, 20 to 30 questions each one, and then some goal setting exercise. So we recommend that people, I have one guy, he said, no, yeah, I finished all 8 modules in the first day. Oh, good for you, Keener, man. You finished all 8 modules in one day. What did you take out of it? No, but I got through it. We didn't want to be like a building block sometimes. So I'm sorry to say, but I've just heard from all of our research and experience, some people just look at it as a check the box, is what I think that you're saying too, Andrew, is it's not a check the box scenario. It's a strategic plan to do things over time, to develop your consistencies and your best practices. But it's definitely a two-way street. There's accountability that goes on the side of the ownership from the people that are on the call. and we hold each other accountable to that, and we agree to it, and it works. It really, really works. We know that time is a big limiter. That's the biggest thing. People say, well, I'd love to do counter training, driver training, manager training, but I just don't have the time, or I don't have the resources or the people. Well, if you commit, to doing counter training course, let's say one person or 50 people or 100 or whatever, that's why we've built a team to do that, to help people, because time is a restraint for sure. So
Right.
yes, any
One of the-
questions,
Well,
comments?
it just occurs to me, like just to kind of gel, the kind of sentiment that you're referring to is it's not just about the training, it's about the learning, right? You can't just go to the training. You need to take this stuff from it. If you're not slowing down, uh, ensuring that you're, kind of absorbing the material, and as leaders within an organization, that, if you're paying good money for training, that you want to make sure that it's being taken for what it is, that it's not about, finishing the 8 modules in 3 hours or 6 hours or 8 hours. It's about taking getting the guidance, getting the information, incorporating the information into your day so that you can become better at your job and more effective, not just, hey, I've got my certification in, 3 hours and I beat the other guy on the
Right.
counter, I'm the fastest one in the team. It's not really the goal, is it?
Not at all. No. And thank you for that. All of that. That's very good, very good feedback that you gave it. And it's true. And it really stems further than that, is that, again, I'm just using examples, whether it's sales training, counter training, driver training, store manager training. We know that one of the most number one and important things that people look at is it's not the income that they make. Sure people have to feed their families, they have to take care of it, but they want a sense. Generally, most people do want a sense of contribution that they feel that they're bringing to an organization. They want to feel that I'm bringing value of something that I'm doing and learning and becoming better. A lot of people say, well, a lot of people get stuck in a status quo. Even our best salespeople, like our senior salespeople, you'd be surprised. They come to our training programs. They sometimes get the most out of it, believe it or not, Andrew, and the rest of the folks on the call, because they say, I just need that little bit of a fuel. So that, I needed that tip. I knew that, but I wasn't doing it, or I haven't done it, or I needed to be refreshed. And that's inspiring when I hear that from your top performers, whether it's a store manager, a driver, a counter, or a salesperson. But to your point as well, is that it also helps with the learning part of it. People are more apt to stay longer within an organization if they're trained. If someone's new and they come in and he's in his mid-20s and he was just hired, and the senior veteran on the counter at the end that knows everything about filters or paint or brakes or whatever it is, and he's not contributing and helping whatever it might be, that person might leave. But if they're trained and then they bring value and then they learn how to work together better, your tenure with people, or your sustainability of people, of less turnover, can be enhanced for you as well, which is a big cost for a lot of businesses, and in certain roles, inside roles too. So
Yeah, for sure. And I know um, introduced the parallel talking about golf. This is the aftermarket, after all. And, virtually every professional golfer, I think we can all agree that even to be anywhere on the tour, you've got to be pretty good at that. Every one of them still has a coach. They still have coaches. They still get into bad habits. They still get out of their routines. They still develop new uh, behaviors that aren't conducive to performing well. And I think for everybody, it's just a kind of the human condition. We develop habits. We stop doing things that we used to do a lot and that worked really well, because we just kind of moved on. We forgot to focus on them, and we got into other things, and we might not actually even realize it. So a refresher, regardless of where we are in our careers or in our organizations, is extraordinarily useful from time to time. Correct?
100%. I mean, the old saying is, we alluded to it earlier, is that we may know it, but are we really, really doing it? And people love that about it, and they go, yeah. And I've even said, even in our counter course, where I've had a guy that you know, like there's nothing inappropriate in there or anything by all, of course, but there's a guy that gets kind of angry with a customer. And I looked at it after it was filmed and I said, oh, that was a little crass. He was like, oh, what do you think you did wrong? And he was angry. And I've asked guys, I say, well, that kind of came across a little bit like on the video, like the guy was pretty, he said, no, and I'm not talking again negatively of anyone. He just, I said, should I take that out? Because, you know, and he said, no, leave it. I see it a lot, you know, seen that kind of thing happen. People get frustrated. Somebody gets angry with you, you get angry back, you know, and we need to be better at that to exceed the customer expectations. But I want to go back to your point as well of what you were saying, Andrew, is, you know, a self-assessment, I think is what you were saying as
Yeah,
well.
for sure.
It allows you to go back and really assess. And we talk a lot about that. And it's one of the things that I love to do. None of us profess to be perfect. We have to really work hard. We all of us have to work hard, and we have to put everything that we're doing into it, what we're doing, and and the only way to continue to grow and learn and knock on wood, I want to be that guy until I'm gone. Is that, you know, just being open to learn and you know, some things are challenging for us. But if we don't step back and assess the performance, that's when the ruts start kicking in. That's when you're saying, Andrew, like the habits start to diminish, you know. But as soon as we do some self-assessment, we go, oh, well, let's use it as a real world example. I went in as a sales guy, I made a sales call and I didn't listen. I didn't ask any questions. I went in and it jumped into presentation mode to sell my friction, or I went in and talked about a new product, a new spray gun or whatever it might be. And I just downloaded on them and nothing went anywhere. When it gets back in the car, goes to the next place. No, maybe that self-assessment, you know, might be, I got to step back. I got to be more intentional and strategic, but also a lot more sincere and authentic in asking more questions and listening more and building that relationship. And it's the same with on the counter. Maybe, you know, who didn't ship that? Who didn't ship that? You know, that body filler out, or who didn't ship the new machine, the tire machine that was supposed to go. The guy needed that, and we get all angry. We fix the problem. We get the tire machine over, or the new creeper the guy wanted, or whatever it is, and we don't learn anything from it because we didn't assess. Well, that's not what he told me. So if we step back as human beings in our personal life and in our professional life, I really firmly believe, from experience, you just continue to get better and you'll handle it in a different way next time as well. So you got me off on that topic, Andrew.
Yeah, sorry about that. I want to keep you moving along here.
I like it though. No, it's good stuff.
Yeah, I just and I'm a big believer in, you know, obviously my one of the foundational tenets of this organization, Chat Media, was to try and focus on people in their roles within the organization, and one that I believe had been long neglected by folks on my side of the aftermarket is the important role of the driver. So nobody sees a customer more than a driver. Talk a little bit about where you see you know, a role for training and drivers.
Well, someone said to me years ago, Norm, you do sales training, you do customer service training, you do leadership training, you do managers training, all this. What about the drivers? And I went, and here's what my point was at first in my mind. The first thing I thought, and for those of you that know me and knew me even maybe since I had bangs in the early 80s, I'm kidding. But no, I've been around in the business where I walk into stores and all joking aside, and guys say, oh, I'm just a driver, I'm just a driver. And I thought for years, no, he'd be a guy that we give a coat to or do something. And I always valued the drivers, and I always look at the individuals. And this isn't an I thing, and I know you do, guys. Is that they're so valuable, and everybody has a story, and every driver is probably way better at certain things than I am. I'm no better than that driver for whatever his role is. So someone came to me and said, train the drivers. I said, well, okay. I was a little cynical at first. And I said, well, how are they gonna receive it? Whether it's an old guy that's from an old guy, I didn't mean it that way, but an older gentleman, retired veteran from the Army that comes in, or someone that retired as an engineer, or a young girl or guy that comes in, how are they gonna receive it? It's been unbelievably well responded when they're teaching these people on our online course, how to interact with customers, how to be aware of their environment and how they treat others within the organization, and their own attitudes and their own organizational skills, and how they're monitoring their tasks and doing things. And let's move all that away from that for a moment, because it's huge on best practices. They love it. We can't expect that people just know that that the guy is not supposed to stand around a hoist and talk to a technician and have a joke with him or talk to him about the hockey game for 5 minutes. If we don't teach him, if he don't know that time is money, then that's just his role. He's going in and talking. Or if he doesn't know that the parts have to be delivered over there the way that they should all the time, asking, making sure, and doing certain things, how are they going to know? Oh, it's common sense. No, so we teach on all of that stuff, and we teach how important their role is, so they walk away and go, almost like, you know what, I am valuable. We say it throughout the program that without the driver, there's nothing. I mean, there's no invoice, the cars aren't being repaired. And we want people to stop saying, I'm just a driver, if it's a note that you take. So I love the fact that we train in drivers, and I love the fact that we're changing them and we're helping them. And I love the fact that the organizations are keeping their drivers longer when they do our training too. We know that.
That's excellent. That's a good point.
Okay, and let's keep rolling here. So it's broken down into modules, and there's only 4 modules. There's 8 in the counter program. Each one's about 40 minutes, and you can do it over whatever period of time that you figure for the counter. For the drivers, it's 4. And a lot of people will set up their own time. They'll do it beforehand. They'll get the guy set up on a computer. They'll walk through it, and they'll go, oh, you know what, the manager, or the driver, I don't know if he's going to really like it. He's not that strong on the computers, or he or she is. They get on it and they go, this is awesome, and we'll do it. And those are things that I need to do now. I need to make sure that I'm double checking my orders. I need to make sure that I'm maybe being a little more thorough in my paperwork, so that, cost is money. And we got over there and we forgot parts because we're rushing too much. Like you said earlier, slowing it down, checking on things, and critical to their role. So I believe that it's really unique. I know there's other training out there. We're really unique in the sense that we do video presentations and the quizzes and the self-evaluations for drivers as well. So drivers are huge. And in each one of our programs as well, we have our store consistency checklists for, well, we have and I'll be happy to give this to you as well. If you want to, connect with me at the end of the call, talk to me. I'll be happy to share with you this, there's no obligations on anything when we talk, or if you're interested in hearing more. But what I'd love to do anyway is give you this, and you could do an assessment on looking if you're in an operation within a manufacturer, warehouse, or as a jobber. You can look at it and do a self-assessment, and then kind of turn it into a store consistency checklist as well. We know from examples that huge multiple chains that have become very, very successful. Let's look outside the automotive aftermarket. Any right now, it's a bad example, maybe hotel or restaurant or whatever, where there's been difficulties. But if you look at the mass growth of chains within those types of organization, it's built on consistencies and building whatever that looks like. We give you a template, you can build on it. And that's how people go from 1 store to 20 stores to 50 stores to 100 hotels or 1,000, because they know the consistencies that they build is it makes sense, and it's what's required of everyone. It's not that you're creating robots. One thing, if you don't create consistencies and you don't step back and train, and we don't continue to refresh, a lot of times what can essentially happen is that you halt growth and it stops. Then we're in what we hear a lot of times, people saying, oh, I'm putting out fires, I'm taking care of this, I'm taking care of that. So we'll give you some consistency checklists. We have them for drivers, and we have them for counter, and we have them for our leadership training as well. Andrew, I should turn it to you for a moment. Is there any flashes of chats that you have or anything?
Well, I know that we've run we've included some of this information in issues of Jobber Nation. I've put out a note to everybody that, to send an email with the Great Canadian Aftermarket Trade Show offer in the subject line, to send it to you. The contact information will be on the last slide of your presentation, or just to send it to me, and certainly I'll forward it on. But Andrew Ross at indiegarage.ca for those who are listening. Now, one of the things that really occurs to me, again, I hate to kind of belabor the point, is that need to close the loop, and you touched on it with the follow-up and the kind of revisiting and the modules. But I mean, how does that work, and how does it how does it work, and how well does it work?
Well, it does. It works very, very well. We have customers that have been and I'm just gonna be honest, they're short on it. Sometimes they get on it and they do it and they take it and they want more, and then they get busy. And that's just one of the challenges that we face sometimes. And then we have other customers that have been years that continue to keep building with us as well. So it's that commitment that I promise you, if you want to, basically create a map, that loop to be closed, let's map out what the strategy is of what you need and what you want and where your pain points are, and customize it for you, and
Right.
have a longer term vision in place, where there's follow up as well. And that's what we know that really works, Andrew, is to have that plan. And it could be different for each individual as well, of what they really want, like from manufacturers to shops to whoever it is on here, jobbers. And that's where we customize it and we set the accountabilities. And I would prefer to move forward to agree upon our responsibilities rather than just jump in. So it really does work. And hopefully that answers your question, because it's
Yeah,
a partnership. It's a partnership. It's like we're an extension of you, and you don't want to go hire HR people and do all this course development and do everything, and you need help. And I've got a few people that work with me that are doing all of this. And that's how we help, Andrew, and support our network of customers, 20 years now.
for sure, for sure. Now, are these, can things, we talked about the modules and whether it's, whether it's your kind of courses or others or other programs or modules. How important is it? I mean, we talk about team, and yet then we're talking about different functions, within the operation. How important is it to get training going on at all levels versus just kind of targeting one group or one
No,
part of a
it's
team?
interesting. It's interesting. I'll I'll confess is that in the sense that targeting one group is a good place to start. I mean, that's a great place to start. If you're smaller and you want to do that, and I don't mean that in a small way, but you say I can only manage so much at one time. Now, the thing is, I love your point, and I'm going to jump ahead for a moment here
Sure.
because uh, well, I'll just jump ahead verbalizing it as opposed to try to show you anything. And I don't want to slide whip you, but oh, that was painful. So can you get through one more bullet? No, the reality of it is we have a lot of customers that buy bundle packages that actually invest in their company to have mystery caller, CSI program, unlimited use of driver training, unlimited use of counter training, unlimited use of our online store managers training. It's a bundle, and they get everything, and we work it out, and we say you can have this for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is, and we work together. And there's all those processes that are put in webinars and follow-ups and accountability. So that's more of a bigger strategic draw for people. And then there's a trust factor. Sometimes people say, well, I don't know about it. I got to just try some, just some courses or whatever. And we say, well, hey, whatever works for you. If you want to just get, it's not one person maybe, but maybe you get a few people, try a counter course and, measure it, try the leadership course, see what you think. Let's collaborate through all the process. Let's keep the end in mind that, there could potentially be a bigger partnership and you be the judge. And so people can kind of start smaller, bigger with it, or like we have a lot of people as well that look at like the whole package type thing.
For sure, for sure. So you can, as you say, I mean, the ideal is to get the entire kind of enterprise kind of pulling in the same direction, but failing that, getting a portion of training and improving the kind of at least awareness of a certain segment within your organization to best practices is going to pay dividends anyway, right? I mean, it's somewhere to start, right? So.
Well, absolutely. And we all know those pain points internally, each individual that's on this call or others that will future watch this as well. They know where those pain points are. And I never used to like to be that guy, that I've heard people say to train, what keeps you up at night? But you know what? I used to say my knee or something like that. I'm kidding. But no, the truth of it is there's a lot of stuff that does keep people up at night. And it might be certain areas within the business that it's growing and it needs some attention. And that's where you need to start to get that fixed and then continue to move forward. We also have a roadmap, which we call our strategic training process. It's a sustainability process, which helps you. We map it out together. This looks pretty robust, but it's not really. It's just a matter of setting expectations when we're going to complete the modules. And what I say by that is I don't mean that it's like so much work. It's right. It's just a process that we follow, kind of check the boxes on how we make sure that we're are following through on what you said and doing the assessments. And what good is it if we train and then we don't continue to talk to our groups and are assessing them, and people talking amongst each other to set goals and getting better. So all the way through it is, there is some good to that, where people learn things and they pick things up. But if you really want to leverage it, you follow the process, and we know that it works. Like, it works fantastically. For salespeople, I'd be remiss if we didn't get into a little bit more. We were talking operationally as we just close off in a couple minutes here. We've got a few minutes still. For salespeople, we have the 7-step sales process, and we've created a lot of sales processes over the years. I've just continued to evolve them, like almost weekly. We're growing, and through all this pandemic that we've learned, we're doing so much virtually now as well, that we can talk to groups of salespeople. And at first, like a little funny story, in December I had to do one, and we had one about 30 people. And they were all in the U.S. and some of these guys were veterans in the business and been on. And I said, please turn on your camera. I'd love to be able to see you and interact. Treat it just like you would if you were in a boardroom or in a training center somewhere. They all turned on their cameras. We started talking. We got through it. All the modules, doing some follow up, and everybody engaging. And so the point of it is what I mean is that virtual could really be a way to do this now, and spreading it out nationally and getting people. We're doing lots right now where I'm having people from all over the place coming in, from Florida and the Midwest and the Northeast, Pacific Northwest, Vancouver, wherever it might be. And we're doing them virtually. But it's a sales process. A little takeaway is to really continue to think about, for the sales operation side of it, are we really still continuing to create the great impressions? Are we really being well planned in our sales calls? Are we doing our to-do list?
Yep.
One of the things, we call it a today list now too, but to-do list, today list. What do I need to prioritize on? One takeaway that I'd love you to think about is to stretch yourself to continue to learn, whether you do anything in training with us or you do whatever it might be. Stretch yourself to continually write down your weekly goals. And this isn't brand new. This is something you may have heard. But what I found to be so powerful, and I've learned it, is pick 3 things that you really want to accomplish in a week. What are the big things that you want to accomplish? So maybe I want to prospect more. I want to make those calls. I want to collaborate with my manufacturer more and create a strategy to get more business. Maybe I need to slow down and do some market research on my prospects and really figure out where I can go to see new people, and push yourself on those 3 things. I call them the more lofty goals that you want to accomplish for the week. And let all the peripheral stuff on your today list and your to-do list manage you still and work it in your regular sales calls, but push yourself. All of us need to do that, regardless of who you are, not just salespeople. Look at those 3 things that you really want to accomplish in a week.
Perfect.
Are we continuing to be building confidence in our customer base that we have existing customers and our new customers as well?
All right. Well, Norm, yeah, for sure. Let's skip to I'm going to have to ask you to make sure we get the contact information for you on the slide at the end. So, because we're going to run out of time here for sure. Obviously, we've talked about, a lot of stuff. Scheduling is, the modules obviously want to take as long as you need to, but not too fast, right? So
right, exactly, yeah, exactly. So you can do all this training individually. You can work on it. You can have team meetings as well. We would love to, if you want. You can ask me as well to send this to you. I just had this as a last bullet going into it, is that how to have team meetings, how to create collaboration, how to continue to build your team support as well. A lot of people don't have it like having meetings. They don't like hearing crickets, I call it, when somebody comes in and, it's just pizza or whatever. We'll talk to you about a roadmap on how to do it. We'll also share with you the Excel advantage. Now, here's where this offer comes in. If you want to talk about counter training, driver training, store manager training, leadership training, shop training, something that we could help you with, any of our programs which we've created over the years, I would love to have like a 45-minute no charge session where we just collaborate, and I can give you lots of tips and techniques, give you lots of resources, and share with you what we have as well. And you can be the judge on that. It would just be more of a one-on-one conversation with you or any of your colleagues. And it could be on any of these topics at all. And if I can create and bring some value to you, I've been in this business 20 years and I just want to help. I really do. And sure, it'd be great to build a relationship, but let's talk about your sales processes. Let's talk about your best practices and how you can implement them. If you want, take advantage of a free online training course as well, and look at counter course, driver course, store manager leadership course, wherever you feel your gaps are. You can let us know, and we'll provide you with one free login as well over a 30-day period. You can look at it, whatever it might be. That's the gift, and there's no charge for that. Or we can talk about your bundled opportunities. So right on time, a recap here is that, the message to your team, the why, the manager's training, the launch of how to have, collaboration and one-on-one meetings with maybe the green box scenario where we don't see it anymore and it's kind of blinded to us. And now we have to realize, okay, we do have to coach, we have to lead, but I need some help, Norm, and assistance. And help isn't the word. It's collaboration and assistance to take your team to the next level, and then how to grow your sales and retain your accounts, which we talked about in the onset. Because remember, and you like this quote, Andrew, you said, our best customers are our competitors' best prospects.
Yeah.
So I want to say exactly right at 1 o'clock, right? Is it okay?
Well, 3 o'clock for me here, but yes.
Yes, exactly. I can't thank everyone enough for making the time, and I hope that we were able to provide some real value for people, Andrew. And I can't thank you enough.
I think so. Thank you everybody who spent the time to join us today. Thank you for the attendees participating in particular. We have other sessions coming up if you're listening to this live. Tomorrow, access to information panel, and on Thursday, a virtual shop tour of all EV Canada, all electric independent vehicle service operation in Halifax. This looks to be very exciting. Hope you can join us for those. If not, they should be available by video at some point soon. We'll keep this video up when it's up. The offer will still be available. You'll see the details when we post at jobbernation.ca and indiegarage.ca. This has been a great Canadian aftermarket trade show session. Norm, thank you very much for your time and your efforts on this. And to everybody else, hope you have a safe and prosperous week. And